Okay, this is gonna sound like it's about transgenderism again. It's not. I've actually had this rolling around in my brain for a couple weeks now, but other topics took precedence. So it's about this Scarlett Johannson thing and how there's huge blowback over her producing and starring in a movie where she plays someone who the current media and activists and whatnot, in light of the ruminations about this movie, are calling a transgender man, because this is one of those true story things. This is a real person. But previous stories on Dante Tex Gill, where Tex must be a nickname given that it's always presented in quotes, described her as a lesbian who was basically just super butch, wore suits and ties, and preferred to be called Mr. Her birth name was Lois. The story takes place from the 60s to the 80s, so it can be probably not unsafely inferred that at least part of her quote-unquote manhood was to strengthen her legitimacy as a business person. Her business being prostitution, by the way, under the guise of massage parlors. So there are conflicting reports about her identity, but I trust the classification of her as a lesbian by the article I read because it was from 2014 or 15, before this movie was being made, so muddling the specifics of her identity would serve no purpose, which is specifically why I searched for one that wasn't just written. And I don't think her identity is important anyway. People really want to put actors in boxes and tell them they can't act certain ways, which just betrays the whole profession. If you can do it convincingly and turn in a stellar performance, God bless you. Jared Leto played a trans woman in Dallas Buyers Club and he was spectacular. Didn't get near as much backlash because things weren't as cataclysmically heated as they are now. But it just means let actors be actors. If I have a concern for Scarlett Johansson's ability to take on this role, it's wondering how she's gonna pull off being fat as fuck because Dante Tex Gill is a large person. But so it's got nothing to do with her being or not being trans. The reason I feel the need to resist the people who resist this situation is because it's part of a larger movement. It's part of the diversity movement. It's part of the hashtag #OscarsSoWhite movement, which makes no fucking sense in this case because people are mad at a white person portraying a white person. It's not called whitewashing when the person being washed was white to begin with, and therefore came out the same color she went in. It's just washing at that point. And people are using that hashtag in response to this, and I don't get it. I saw a famous black actress tweet about this, saying that Scarlett Johansson was taking away a role from a transgender person, and put the hashtag #OscarsSoWhite. That is what incenses me. Not even the hashtag in this case, but the language. The taking away part. Scarlett Johansson is an executive producer on this movie that she is starring in. She, at least in part, is the one making it. She didn't take away shit. That's like saying if you grow vegetables in your garden and then eat them yourself, you're taking away from the neighborhood because they didn't get any. That is pure socialist rhetoric. If I make a movie and I don't cast any trans people in it, I'm not taking away roles from trans people. I've created roles for other people. That language is actually socially irresponsible and frankly inexcusable because the implications are fierce. To take away a role from someone, you would have to first cast them in that role and then fire them. Scarlett Johansson didn't take anyone's place. Nobody else was ever cast. If you say she took away a role from a transgender person, then you have to say that every person who ever landed a role did so by stealing it from everyone who didn't, meaning every actor and actress in Hollywood who's ever been in so much as a cereal commercial is in the business of grand theft for all the opportunities they're supposedly snatching from the rest of the world. That is insane. When 10 people interview for a job and only one gets it, that person isn't taking that job from the other 9, he's taking it for himself because he earned it. And if you think the employer made a mistake, you take it up with them. Though it won't do much good to convey what a persistent whiner you are, like that won't solidify their confidence in that choice even further. There's such an annoying, bitter resentment in Hollywood, and people are always going to be jealous of and talk shit about the ones who have made it to the top when they're sitting at the middle or below, but now they'll politicize anything they can to try and bring down the people they envy so much. Like when Emma Stone was criticized for playing a 25% Asian character, people were offering suggestions as to who should have done it instead, and they were all like full-blooded 100% Asian actresses. That would have been even less accurate. Last I checked, 25 is closer to 0 than it is to 100, but the director actually fucking apologized for casting her after the movie came out. What an absolute dick. I felt awful for Emma Stone during that shit. It's so frustrating when people take heat for stupid garbage and everyone's acting like they've willfully committed a hate crime. Remember when Robert Downey Jr. played a black Australian in Tropic Thunder? You know why that performance wasn't the equivalent of burning a cross in a black church's backyard? Because it wasn't bad. and it wasn't stereotypical in the least. There were no offensive caricatures on display. Most people who watched it had probably never even seen a black Australian person before, so who were any of them to say it was offensive and demeaning to a type of person they've never even hypothesized? If you can turn in a believable performance, you should be able to play whoever or whatever you want. That's why acting is acting. People are trying to symbolically replace the word acting with reliving, like the idea that only a gay actor can truly bring a gay character to believable life on screen. That's proven to be bullshit when gay people play straight characters all the time and nobody bats an eye, but a bisexual woman plays a transgender person and everyone loses their minds! There's this push now where if you're going to cast someone as a character, they need to already be exactly like that character in real life, which isn't fucking acting. Bill Hader is going to be the adult version of Finn Wolfhard in the upcoming It 2, and people were like, he can't do it, he doesn't seem like that kind of person. Bitch, have you heard of fucking acting? Think of all the people who have played Hitler in movies. Did they all need to kill 6 million Jews before they could qualify for the part? Anyone can play anything if they're good. Donald Glover played an old creepy dude with bleached skin in the last season of Atlanta. It was absolutely unrecognizable and only a Google search could have revealed the situation to you. Performances like that are what is possible when you forget about segregating everything into forcibly conventional roles. Hollywood is just a cesspool of part-time activists who can't believe an institution as unflinchingly liberal as themselves could be subject to the same inequality of outcome as the rest of the economic systems they so vehemently hate. Hollywood isn't communism or socialism. It doesn't redistribute earnings. It doesn't split income fairly amongst its actors. It's capitalism. And it allows the same disparity between the mega-rich superstars and the part-time baristas as everything else does. And the top 1% are blamed for stealing everyone else's money and representation just like in the rest of society, when the truth is most of those part-time baristas can't get any work because they're terrible actors. Why does nobody deserve shit based on merit anymore? How else are people going to find out that they have grossly misjudged themselves and are in the wrong field? You want your horrible wannabe actor friend from high school starring in the next summer blockbuster because everybody deserves a shot? Here's the real trouble with all these calls for aimless added diversity in the movie and TV making process. Cast more people of color is the basic call to arms going on here. But what has to happen to make that work? People have to write scripts with more people of color in them. They have to conceptualize stories with more people of color in them for no reason other than to pad some quota. It's literally thought policing, in essence, like, oh, I just thought of this terrific movie idea. So it stars 4 white guys. Nope, try again. It stars 1 white guy, 1 black guy, a white woman, and an Asian girl. Please continue. Then there's this added strain on screenplay creators to be inclusive, so every movie just turns into a diversity brochure for a college campus. Look at all these races living in peace and harmony. And it's like people can't just make stories anymore without worrying about checking boxes and not coming off like a white supremacist. When I see a trailer to a movie, I look for diversity now. I notice how many of everyone is in there. I hate it, but I can't help it. It doesn't affect my decision to watch the movie. It's just a counting exercise that becomes a fact I can't get out of my head. It's so stupid. It's even more maddening because I know other people do the same thing but treat it positively. Some people won't watch movies if they have too many white people in them, or if there's not enough women. I know other people keep a tally in their heads and refer to it to make decisions, and I cannot stand that thought because it's an arbitrary bullshit reason to not watch something. Or when people look back on old shows and view them through this new lens of their diversity x-ray machine and treat shows they once loved as now staples of an ignorant and white supremacist era that they can never enjoy the same way again. I can't watch Friends anymore because it doesn't have any black people in it. And I'm like, Aisha Tyler's in there for a few episodes, and they're like, yeah, there's no black people in it. And I'm like, I guess you're right. But who cares? Really, who cares? What did we miss out on by not having black people in Friends? A drive-by shooting episode? I'm just kidding. The past and present are 2 separate things, and when you judge the past by the standards of the present, you're gonna be disappointed 100% of the time because that's how time works. We change, we grow, we evolve, we get more uptight, we get bitchier, we whine more, we freak out over nothing, we start hashtags over nothing, we boycott things for no reason, we intellectually disenfranchise white people to show we're not racist, we make whatever movie that depicts the most minorities being persecuted win every award we can find as our perpetual never-ending apology for slavery none of us were alive to be guilty of, we make all-female reboots of classic movies and watch them with a forced and expected smile glued to our faces, we start campaigns to make 100-year-old classic Marvel characters gay for the hell of it, legacy and continuity be damned, and I guess you can say we just get better and better as the years roll by. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, you can like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.